We read Parashat Amalek, the explanation of the psukim, Zachor et asher asa lecha Amalek baderech b'tzetchem mimitzrayim. Simple understanding in Rashi to those psukim. One has a mitzvat aseh and a mitzvat lo ta'aseh to remember what Amalek did to us when we came out of Mitzrayim. And we'll see in a second what exactly he did. And the mitzvah aseh is mentioned over here. Zachor et asher asa lecha Amalek. Remember what Amalek did to you. And in the end, it ends off with lo tishkach, which means those psukim are wrapped. The three psukim that we read in Parashat Zachor are wrapped with starting Zachor, mitzvah aseh, to remember what Amalek did to us, and ends up with lo tishkach, do not remember aseh and lo ta'aseh. What indeed did Amalek do? Asher karcha baderech. What does it mean, asher karcha baderech? Those words, karcha, what does it mean? So Rashi gives us three explanations to the word asher karcha baderech. Says Rashi, open up the Chumash and see inside. Asher karcha baderech leshon mikre. Lashon mikre means that, mikre means something that happens, not planned. Coincidence. Amalek is known to be giving us such a feeling of coincidence. Everything in the world is a coincidence. Coincidentally, Amalek happened to come and fight Am Yisrael. It wasn't planned. Where really, in reality, the Torah tells us that Amalek comes whenever Am Yisrael are doing something wrong. As Rashi mentions over here, that the connection of Parashat Amalek in the end of Parashat Ki Tetzeh is with what it says right beforehand. It says beforehand that one has to have measurements that are precise when he does business. So they used to use weights in order to weight the merchandise they're selling. Let's say somebody comes, he wants to buy oil. They would put it for him in a jar. You want to buy flour, they will put it for you in a jar, in a bucket. So if one has, and they would measure for it on a scale with weights to see exactly how much you need to pay. Once you were not precise, you were trying to cheat in business, your weights are not correct, so therefore, says Rashi, Amalek would come. That's Rashi says, Zachor et asher asa lecha, im shikarta b'midot u'b'mishkalot, says Rashi, if you were cheating with weights, cheating in business, heve doeg mi girui ha'oyev. Be careful, because now the enemy might come and sting you. Shene'emar mozne mirma to'avat Hashem, uktiv batre, bazadon ve'yavo kalon. As soon as you cheating in business, mozne mirma, which is to'avat Hashem, Hashem hates this, what happens right afterwards? Bazadon ve'yavo kalon. The enemy comes and he puts you into embarrassment, into a shame, and he fights a war against you. That's Lashon Mikre, that you feel that it happened to be, that the IRS came to you, where you don't realize that really it came because you cheated in business. You cheated in business, all of a sudden you have bad things happening to you. Lashon Mikre means you will not realize that everything is planned because of the actions you are doing. And it's all from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's one explanation in Rashi from the Lashon that it says in the Torah, Asher karcha ba'derech. Second thing is Lashon keri vetum'ah, which means Amalek comes to be metameh Am Yisrael, to make us unclean, make us impure. What is that? Tum'ah ruchanit, spiritual impure, right? Why is that? Because Amalek doesn't only come to fight Am Yisrael, Amalek is also such that contaminates the head, the neshama, the spirituality, the belief of Am Yisrael. When you feel coldness to a mitzvah, you feel coldness to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you feel disconnection with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you feel that you're not there all for the mitzvah you're planning to do, that is because Amalek is starting to dig in your neshama, and one needs to be very careful with that. And that's what it says, Asher karcha baderech, karcha milashon keri. Keri is keri vetum'ah. Keri is a form of tum'ah. That is what Rashi explains. So it just gives us a little bit more explanation, shaya metam'an b'mishkav zachor lo alenu. A third explanation is, davar acher, lashon kor vachom. it's the lashon of asher karcha, is that he cooled us down. How did he cool us down? So that is the explanation that was explained before over here, and Rashi says, ציננך ואפשרך מרתיחתך, שהיו עובדי כוכבים יראים להילחם בכם, ובא זה והתחיל והראה מקום לאחרים. עם ישראל, when they came out of Mitzrayim, were such a world empire as to the aspect that people were scared of them. Sometimes you can be a very small nation, and you can own an atomic bomb. So everybody's scared to start a fight against you, because they know they're endangering all the country when they fight against you. So therefore, Am Yisrael were a small nation without a land in the desert, but they have an atomic bomb. Anybody, unconventional weapon, anybody that would start with Am Yisrael will get hurt by the Almighty, the Kadosh Baruch Hu. So nobody wants to start with Am Yisrael. What happens over here? Amalek said, we'll start. We'll start, and we cool down that fear that Am Yisrael shines to the world, gives to the world. We cool that down. משל לאמבטיה רותחת שאין כל בריאה יכולה לרדת בתוכה. There was a mashal, a parable. Chazal tell us a parable. There would be a bath, burning hot. Hot bath. You put your feet, you get burnt. You can't even put a finger in there. It's boiling hot. That was Am Yisrael. Am Yisrael were hot. Anybody would be so scared to put his finger to Am Yisrael. בא זה, התחיל והראה מקום לאחרים. משל לאמבטיה רותחת שאין כל בריאה יכולה לרד בתוכה. בא בן בליעה על אחד, קפץ וירד לתוכה. אף על פי שנכווה, יקרא אותה בפני אחרים. There was one man that said, you know what? I'll jump inside. I'll get burnt. But at least now it will be cooled down, and everybody else would be able to also jump in the bath. And this is exactly what Amalek did. Amalek said, you know what? Am Yisrael scaring the whole world. Let me fight with them. I'll get burnt. I understand that I'll get burnt. It's a way of committing suicide. I'll get hurt. But in the end, everybody else will be able to come and fight Am Yisrael. And that is basically when you have a suicide attack. What are they trying to do in a suicide attack? They're trying to make such a demonstration that it's not the end of the world. You could indeed fight those that you're committing the suicide attack against, although they are dying, but they're gaining that other people would be able to continue the fight. This is called Asher Karcha Baderech. He cooled you down. Karcha milashon kor. Vayzanef becha kol hanechashalim acharecha. What does it mean, Vayzanef becha kol hanechashalim acharecha? Such strange words. The answer to this is Vayzanef becha lashon, Rashi says, lashon zanav. What does it mean, zanav? Makat zanav, chotech milot וזורק על פני מעלה. Amalek used to cut the brit milah of those that he caught and throw it to a Kadosh Baruch Hu, as to say, look at that, what did they help you? What did the Brit Milah help for anything? So he would be throwing those towards HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Now some explain that it doesn't mean literally that he threw it to the Shamayim. Rather, it means that he threw words to the Shamayim. What does it help? You see, the Brit Milah doesn't help you, and Am Yisrael doesn't help HaKadosh Baruch Hu in any way. So we would start causing over here Am Yisrael to weaken Am Yisrael Emunah with that as well. That's called Vayzanev Becha. Rashi says Makat Zanav. Who did he do it to? To all Am Yisrael? No. Kol hanecheshalim acharecha. What does it mean, Kol hanecheshalim acharecha? Rashi says necheshalim milashon chalash. Chalash means weak. Rashi, chesre koach mechamat chetam shaya he'anan poltan. There was be anan, a cloud, the glory cloud. Anybody that would be under that anan would have been protected 100%. Why? Because the anan has the shechina. You know, whenever you have shechina, you would normally be surrounded with a cloud. Many times in the Har Sinai and many other times that the shechina Kedusha would be inside the cloud. That cloud that would be on top of Am Yisrael at the Midbar, anybody that would be under that cloud would have been protected. But there are people that would sin. Can you sin under the cloud? Indeed, you could sin, just like when you come to the shul. The Shekhinah Kedosha in the shul. But you could also sin in the shul, because Yetzer Hara doesn't let go of you. It doesn't let go. Even when you come to shul, it doesn't let go of you. You speak Lashon Hara, you start looking at your phone, you start doing all things that you're not allowed to do, fights. How many fights you have in the shul? Yetzer Hara doesn't let go even in the shul. Although it says in Chazal, that what? Im paga becha menuval ze, if the Yetzer Hara finds you in the street, moshchehu lebet hamidrash, im even hu nishmoach, im barzel hu mitpotzetz, which means if you pull him into the Beit HaMidrash, he's not going to be able to fight against you in there. But that's only to the Yetzer Hara of looking at the wrong things, having hirurim at the wrong things. But there's still a Yetzer Hara of fighting, Lashon Hara, doing the wrong things, talking wrong things in a shul, doing a lot of different averot that are still possible to do in a shul. Comes the Torah Kedosha and says over here, Kol hanecheshalim acharecha, those that were weak, which means, what kind of weakness? We're not talking about physical weakness, rather, mechamat chetam. Once a person sins, he becomes weak. Weak means that the Anan is not anymore protecting him, and Amalek, he would be out of the Anan territory. Amalek would be able to catch him and hurt him the way we explained before, makat zanav, and that would be the end of him. Kol hanechashelim acharecha ve'ata ayef ve'yageh. Am Yisrael at that time were weak, and were weak physically, which means not physically, not spiritually, as we spoke a second ago. Ayef ve'yageh, tired, ve'lo yareh Elohim. Were Am Yisrael not yareh Elohim? Rashi tells us no, it doesn't go on Am Yisrael. Lo yareh Elohim goes on Amalek. Amalek didn't have fear of Hashem. Although some Rishonim learn that it goes on Am Yisrael as well, but over here it means in Rashi that Amalek was not Yareh Elohim. And therefore, והיה בהניח אדוני אלוהיך לך מכל אויביך מסביב בארץ אשר אדוני אלוהיך נותן לך, נחלה לרשתה, when you gain the Eretz Yisrael, you'll be able to sit and settle in Eretz Yisrael. Don't forget the mitzvah to do what? תמחה את זכר עמלק מתחת השמיים, לא תשכח. You have to wipe the memory of Amalek מתחת השמיים. Everything that belongs to Amalek, not only the people, מאיש ועד אישה, מעולל ועד יונק, the babies, everything, but not only the humans, מישור ועצי, even any animal that belongs to Amalek, whether it's an ox, whether it's a sheep. שלא יהיה שם עמלק נזכר אפילו על בהמה, לומר בהמה זו של עמלק הייתה. Nothing should be left that you be able to say, oh, that house belongs to Amalek, that cow belongs to Amalek. No, everything that reminds Amalek should be wiped out from the earth. This is the explanation of Parashat Amalek in the end of Ki Tetzeh.